Okay, I thought today I'd share one of my techniques I use in the winter, which is a float and fly. When there's open water in the winter, I really don't use anything else in the winter other than a float and fly, especially when the conditions are very bad, like choppy, windy, choppy water, wind, cold. This is caught for me in the middle of winter when nothing else would catch. Okay, this is if you're gonna use something in very bad conditions, windy, choppy water, the float and fly is the way to go, in my opinion anyways. So a little bit about my setup. I got a Lucky Jack, if you can see that, Lucky Jack bobber. I use the biggest one. This is the biggest one I have, and it's not really that big. And it's lighted. Okay, I have 2 bulbs in there. I like the lighted ones because a lot of times in the winter you get cloudy, dark days. And when it's choppy, windy water, you want to be able to see that bobber from far away, because the idea behind this is to let it float. It's to let the wind take it down. Okay, I don't do a whole lot of messing with it. And I don't have good luck with this as much when the water's calm. I have caught that way, but you got to twitch it. And I don't get as much luck as I do in very bad windy conditions where the bobber is doing its own thing. You just let it go. And it kind of just goes across the pond into those deep spots. The pond that I fish, I usually set it around 7 feet down. And I just let it do its thing. The waves just make that fly move up and down. And it does its own thing. Now, the way I have it set up here is I have I don't know if you could see it here, but I have a 9.5 foot, 9.5 foot rod. Now, you don't need a 9.5 foot rod. I used to have an 8 footer, but it broke, so I went to return it to Bass Pro, and all they had was the 9.5 footers, so I needed the rod on the spur of the moment, so I took it. You don't need a 9.5 foot rod. Anything from 7 to 9 feet is fine, especially with a slip bobber. Okay. I didn't return it. I kind of like it because I get a lot of casting distance. I also use this for trout. This is the Bass Pro Microlight. Okay, and this is the old model. Okay, the Bass Pro Microlight. The new models are not that good. Okay, this is the old model, and it's I got it in medium light because I use it for both bass and trout. When the stock trout season, I just take the fly off. I put a small bait hook, little piece of night crawler, and I use the same rod for that. Okay, but in this case, I'm using this with a float and fly method. Okay. Now, what I have on here is a 3000 series reel. You can use a 2500. It doesn't really matter. 2000 to 3000 is fine. This is an Abu Garcia Elite Max. Nice reel. Nothing special about it. Okay. Budget reel. I got 10-pound spider wire. You can use anywhere from 8 to 10-pound braid, or you can use 6-pound, 6 to 8-pound mono. It's fine, or floral clear is good. Anything you want. Okay, I use braid, and I use a Dactron line as a bobber stopper. It's the best thing I found to be a bobber stopper on braid. Everything else slips too easily. Okay, or doesn't stay on braid very well. But this stays on pretty good. I bought this for like $5 at Cabela's, and I'm going to have a lifelong, as you can see, lifelong bobber stopper material. You just cut a little bit off. Okay, you tie it on there with like a uni knot, and it slides up and down, and it stays put on the braid very well. So that's the way I do it. Okay. Going back to the bobber setup. Okay, I use a slip float. I have a bead. I have a slip weight, maybe 1/8 of an ounce or no more than 1/4 of an ounce. I have another bead. And then I use a 4-pound fluorocarbon leader. Okay. I usually add an additional splint shot just for extra casting distance. And then I use the hair jig or fly, or whatever you want to call it. This is in bluegill pattern. I also add a little piece of plastic I cut from a Senko or something that I put in the middle just to keep this hair open, okay? Because it's the hairs that open in the water that attract the fish. You want this anywhere from 2 to 3 feet from your braid, okay? So I run if I can show you here. I run a little double-edged connector here, swivel. So I tie my braid to this, and then my fluorocarbon leader. This is 4 pound. You can use anywhere from 4 to 6 pound. But as the winter gets more, as you get deeper in the winter, you'll get more hits on the 4 pound. Early December, when there's still some weeds, I usually go 6. As the winter continues, the weeds die off, I go to 4. Okay? And that's the setup. I use beads right here. And this is the braid, and then I tie on, this is the braid, and then I tie on the Dacron leader somewhere above here, about 7 feet up. This is the fly that I use, Spro. Okay. This is in bluegill pattern. I also use gray ghost, which is like a gray and white. When it's real bright and sunny day, I'll use that. But most of the time, the bluegill pattern. Because that's what's found in most ponds, is bluegills, right? And I use the 1/8 of an ounce, okay, by Spro. This is all you need in the winter. This is all you need, okay? You just let it do its thing. You just let it float. You don't even have to do anything to it. I just let it sit. I just let the wind take it. And this kind of just bounces and bounces and bounces until you get a hit. And they will come up for it. I've caught some nice bass in the middle of January, February, in some of the worst conditions on this setup. So try it out. The float and fly, or float and hair jig, whatever you want to call it. Any slip bobber will do. Okay, I showed you the one I like. I like mine lighted, okay, so I can see from a distance. And stay warm and get out there. We're out.